So I've got my handy dandy notebook here because I've got to read some stats. I didn't want to miss any of these, and I want to give everybody a little bit of a sense of what this CrossFit thing's all about. So founded in 1994, 14,000 boxes and counting, and that's what the affiliates refer to as one of the CrossFit locations. Roughly every 2 hours and 24 minutes,
about right,
a brand new CrossFit box is opening up around the globe. 175,000 certified CrossFit trainers. So we're talking an army of fitness folks. 4 million and counting CrossFitters running the globe. How many here are CrossFitters? Raise your hands. All right, so we've got some work to do in this room. An ecosystem that's generating in excess of $4, maybe $5 billion in revenue, and roughly $100 million in growing revenue being generated by the CrossFit headquarters. So clearly, Greg, this fitness thing, it's kind of a big deal for you. Yes. I want you to take us back. Take us back to when you realized health, wellness, fitness was your calling.
I knew the world was working out and eating wrong, and but I didn't know if anyone cared, and I really didn't have a sense of what could be done about it other than locally, you know. And so that difference between what I knew to be true and what was believed created a personal opportunity for a training business, and it turned out that was just the tip of the iceberg. But it really was a matter of acting locally and maybe not even thinking globally for a long time.
When you were at, because you were part of the Gold's Gym and a variety of others, at what point did you know that what was happening, what the others were doing, wasn't necessarily right?
Well, I knew as a gymnast that what was happening in the commercial fitness facilities was less than ideal. But I mean, we all look around, you see a lot of things you know aren't right or could be done better, but that doesn't necessarily suggest an opportunity, or it didn't to me. But I think a real turning point for me was when I got my first affiliate and realized that the methodology translated perfectly to an environment where I had no impact or reach, and so that the concept was solid and potentially virulent. And then you roll the clock forward. I just came back day before yesterday from China, and a place I'd never been, and saw that there's an explosion there of CrossFit that's unfolding as we speak, and so this is it's got a life of its own, and lucky for me, I couldn't stop it if I wanted to, which is kind of a nice place to be in a business, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I better stay on the wave.
You know, one of the things that I find fascinating, and I'm wondering if you think about it a lot, so you grew up in the LA area, and in the 1920s, I think it was the mid-1920s, the LA Unified School District passed a regulation of sorts, and they said every single high school is going to have both a men's and women's gymnastics team. Yeah. And so when you went to high school, which he wasn't in high school in the 20s, by the way, but by the time you got to high school, there was this sort of tidal wave of excellence in the people that were gymnasts. Yeah. And you were surrounded by guys like Steve Hugg and people who competed at an Olympic level. And I'm curious, you know, in my high school, I wasn't surrounded by Olympians. And so I'm wondering, as you think about the people you were surrounded by and the vision, the reality of excellence that surrounded you, how has that impacted what and how you think about what can be achieved?
Well, Brian, you've done your homework. There's not many people that know of that bit of athletic history, but you said it right. The there was a superintendent of schools in the LA Unified School District who was a gymnast. And he thought that gymnastics belonged in every school in the city. And they accomplished that overnight. And so every high school had a men's and women's gymnastics team. But the public parks had gymnastics equipment. And it had parallel bars, had rings, had a high bar. And so within a mile and a half of my home were kids standing in line. They'd bring their own chalk, bury it in the sand to preserve it. That was the gym bag, right? Yeah. Bury your chalk in the sand. And you could stand there and hang out and learn the rudiments of an amazing sport. And it was out of that community, out of that culture that scores of Olympians developed. And so it was wonderfully inspirational, and for those that buried their chalk in the sand, there was the aspirational potential of hanging out in the city park was unprecedented. Some of those same parks are now designated as chronic known narcotics locations, and you're not allowed to go after dark. You know, times have really changed. But that was a very, very special time. And so there was a young man, Steve Hugg, you mentioned, who was a 10th grader at my high school, was the best gymnast in the United States. And he's still, I think, the youngest American Olympian ever, in that he went to the Olympics for the first time a few weeks after his 16th birthday. And the impact for a lot of people in my community, in my neighborhood, was that if Steve can do it, we can do it. And which couldn't have been further from the truth. But that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. It was the motivation and the inspiration and the aspiration. You know, I was in a course once where it was on athletic motivation, and the woman was saying that, talking about the essentialness of the possibility in a goal, that it has to be achievable. And I don't believe that. What matters is the dream, and how far you take that. And I had a moderately successful gymnastics career, but my takeaway was that I had learned some essential truths about finding success in any province, and that came about without ever having gotten a gold medal, or, you know, and I'm eternally grateful for that.
It's a pretty special experience.
Yeah, I learned from gymnastics an essential process to achievement, and while never maybe grabbing the gold ring, you know.
Yeah. This excellence theme, I want to hang with it for a minute here. Your first box in Santa Cruz, I think it was around 2000, if I'm not mistaken.
It was.
And shit was happening. People were showing up. Things were great. Yep. And I think it was a few CrossFitters were like, dude, you need a bigger box. And I'm sure you heard that a few times.
Yep.
And I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that you were faced with a decision. Because my sense is you didn't get into this to be a business guy.
Nope.
You got into this to help people live healthier lives. And you were faced with the almighty decision, how do I grow?
Yeah.
Talk to us about what went through your mind as you were contemplating, all right, this thing's for real. I've got something here. Now what?
I had a thriving training practice that existed in the corners of a commercial facility where everyone was doing something very different than I was doing, than my clients were doing. And, you know, it was my training practice. I was paying a percentage of my revenue to the gym as a rent, but I didn't consider myself a businessman, and I'm not quite sure why, but maybe because I wasn't paying the bills or unlocking the door in the morning, although I was unlocking the door. The keys didn't belong to me, they belonged to the gym owner. But I had shortly found myself thrown out again, and I was in Santa Cruz now and not LA, and I'd fundamentally extinguished the avenues of escape. And so opening my own gym was the next, not just logical thing to do, but it was a way to continue to be able to feed myself and my family. And so I got my own gym, and boy, that was magic. I mean, I had the keys, I was paying the utilities, I was paying the rent. I felt like a businessman for the first time. Yeah. And I had a 1,250 square feet, 1,250 square feet. And for me, the building, the practice, the layout, the whole thing was a work of art. It was an act of creation, and just loved it, loved it, loved it. But I did feel like a businessman all of a sudden, and so I thought, well, I better bone up on some businessman stuff, right? And so I went to the bookstore and looked at books on business, and I couldn't find anything that pertained to improving the product or service. Business was largely about what I think we'd come to call marketing. And it didn't resonate with me. And so I walked away with the sense that there was nothing in the bookstore that could help a businessman, a newly minted businessman. Because I didn't have time to put brightly colored flyers under windshield wipers in the mall, and I didn't want to do Groupon or whatever. You know, I was busy working with people, and so I just kind of put that out of my mind. But very, very quickly, within 4 months, I had my clients telling me, "You're out of space. You need a bigger space," and it was in 1,250 square feet, and in a complex of these little units that had a mezzanine and a bathroom, and they were all 1,250 square feet. And the next option was to go to twice that, to go to 2,500 square feet, and that represented a doubling of rent. And you know, when you're 10% overcrowded, 15% overcrowded, you're hurting the business potentially. And I tell my affiliates today that when you've heard for the third time in a week that you've run out of room, you're losing money. And so I started looking at the pros and cons of expansion. And when I looked at it as a financial decision, what I found is that list of pros and cons was basically, at the end of the day, and I mean that literally, at the end of the day, it turned out to be mood dependent. So in the morning, there were all kinds of pros to the expansion. And at nighttime, when I was tired and getting ready to go to bed, because I'm getting up at 4 in the morning, a bunch of the pros seemed more likely in the cons column, which meant that the business decision was potentially an irrational one, that it was an emotional decision. And that doesn't feel right to me. I didn't want to base something so important as the success of my business, which really was what? The care and feeding of my clientele. Not just my livelihood, but their well-being. I didn't like the idea of that residing in something that was fundamentally emotional. And so as soon as I looked at, forget the financial viability of it, which again comes down to what time of day I'm asking myself what the logic of the expansion is. And I went to the question as to, would it provide a better service for my membership? And the answer was a resounding yes, absolutely, without a doubt. And what would those advantages be? I could delineate them all, and that was a enormous amount of constancy there. First thing in the morning, that list looked good. End of the day, when I was tired and grumpy, that list looked good. And so I acted on that alone. And as if by magic, build it and they will come. We undertook the expansion, and in 6 months, I was out of room. And we've done that at every turn. We ask ourselves, does this serve the end user better? And now that end user is my affiliates. And so I have this single litmus of, what is it that would best serve the 14,000 people that have entrusted us to provide the leadership that allows them to bring the goods to the people that come through their doors every morning. And it's created the fastest growing chain in history.
So I'm going to stick with this excellence theme because I think it's fascinating, man, in that the way CrossFit has grown, I'm sure you've used these terms, you're the anti-franchise model. What you've done and what our audience may not know is that when someone becomes an affiliate, there's no SOP manual of how to do it.
Nope.
You tell the story.
Yeah, I'll continue with that excellence theme. In summary, my sense is that markets are fundamentally unknowable, but excellence is like a lighthouse or a beacon. I would say I got a friend in Prescott who runs an orthodontic practice. I know nothing about orthodontic practices, but I know that when you have 20 chairs and he's standing there and everyone's looking out the windows at a beautiful view of the mountains and little kids are in there getting their mouths wrenched on by a bunch of attractive young ladies that are just all elbows, and it's just a factory of people coming in and out, and it's like, this is really, really well done, The excellence is easy to see. The markets are fundamentally unknowable, and you've got that beacon that is excellence, and you just remain an unremitting commitment to that. Should you get there, the markets will bring the cash to you, and often by a means that somewhat is a surprise. And so I use the example, we live in Santa Cruz, and I know when you're out in the bay and you want to get back to the harbor, forget trying to find the harbor, there's the lighthouse. And as you get close to the lighthouse, the harbor becomes obvious and not until. And so for me, that excellence is the lighthouse, and the harbor is where the money is. And we just keep pursuing the excellence. And it's been a terrific thing.
So these affiliates and the trainers, so they go through the training certification, which is, I believe, $1,000. They go through the training to become a certified CrossFit trainer. Some of the earliest affiliates, you've locked in, you've never raised their rates. They're paying, and I'll just say, a measly $500 a year to leverage the CrossFit brand. The later stage ones, it's all of $3,000, so still quite measly compared to what a traditional investing in a franchise might be. Yeah. And there's no territories. There's no we're gonna hold this radius or this zip code or these block of zip codes for each affiliate. You've embraced free markets at the extreme, and dare I say, this might be the largest open source experiment in capitalism that has ever existed, in that you could have 27 boxes in the same strip mall and may the best box owner win.
Yeah. As unusual as that sounds to the business community, in the services world, you get your Harvard Law degree and they're not going to give you a territory. And if you have any potential at all, you're probably going to place yourself where there are lots of other lawyers and not no lawyers at all, although that would be, I could see that being attractive to someone. And you roll the clock forward, and we know, sorry. I love my lawyers. My lawyers. Yeah.
Are any of them here?
I hope so. No. Yeah, that was all very natural for us. And what we know today is that lag time between unlocking your door and solvency is density dependent. And so, when a kid tells me that he's so excited because he's going to be the first affiliate in Wyoming, we tell him it's going to be a cold winter, man. He's going to find out why he's the only affiliate in Wyoming, because no one wants to work out. But that's all good, because I've got plenty of affiliates in remote places and plenty of pioneers. But the territory notion never really resonated with me. Look, it takes 150 to 200 clients to max out your potential in say 2,500 square feet, which is kind of your starting, I can afford it with my savings kind of box. And none of those people went to the yellow pages, because there are no more yellow pages. No, but I mean, nobody's I wonder where I can find a CrossFit gym. It doesn't work like that. In the professional sphere, people don't find you through the yellow pages. If you're a doctor, dentist, a lawyer, an accountant, or a CrossFit trainer, and I just want to offer that you could see this revolution in terms of professionalizing of the training space as much as anything else. Trainers are typically near minimum wage earning kids in polo shirts, working at the gym in college, and I got people that are leaving professions to run their own business. No, this is a very natural fit for us, and I don't know what much more to say about that, but it was lost.
I want to go to the marketing thing for a second, because you brought up going to the bookstore and talking about the marketing books, and as you were looking for, the answer to should I grow, should I not, how should I do it, all you found was some marketing stuff, or that appeared to be marketing stuff. And each CrossFit, as a result of this freedom that you give the box owner, results in what most companies would be like, oh my God, the colors aren't the same, the shirts aren't the same, the look and feel of the box isn't the same. Marketing for you is something totally different. It has nothing to do with what a traditional marketer may think about the importance of that congruency. Talk about that.
Yeah, we routinely find ourselves in a position where there's some vernacular common to an endeavor, business, fitness, medicine, where everyone's kind of got a different notion in their head when they hear the term, whether it's functional fitness, strength, marketing, business. We all nod when we hear the words, but if you start talking to people, what's in their mind when they hear it, we're not on the same page. And so you start looking for definitions and you find there are none. But we had to define marketing, we had to define business so that we could have meaningful engagement around that terminology. And for me, marketing is anything that you do, any attempt to improve the bottom line that isn't a direct retooling of the product or service. And so getting new bicycles for the gym improves the product or service. Hanging out at the mall at night putting fuchsia-colored flyers under windshield wipers is marketing. And I've come to believe that the only marketing that my affiliates should do, and the only marketing that I would do were an orthodontist or an attorney, would be that third-person marketing. That is, I need the recipient, the beneficiary of the service, talking it up. And that doesn't improve the product or service, but it certainly improves the bottom line. And so we left it to the membership of the gym to bring new people through the door. And all of that energy that I had, and it wasn't a lot at the end of my day, went into thinking about those things I could do to better serve those end users. And then they spent their time nagging friends and family and neighbors to come into the gym. And something I was perfectly unwilling to do. And it's worked marvelously well. I've had the wonderful luxury of having been, Santa Cruz is in the shadow of the Silicon Valley, and I've had billionaire clients and become billionaire friends. And this is kind of how the real world of services works. It's the referral from the end user. It's their insistence that people avail themselves of your service that's driving the entire enterprise. And so I would be suspicious of an orthodontist that advertised, or a lawyer whose face I see on TV at night doing commercials. Yeah. What I'd rather hear is a client that got an outstanding result and thinks I'd be a fool to go anywhere else. And in that same vein, I'll share with you too, because I think this relates, because our sense of marketing and our notion of marketing came after we kind of formalized what it was that business is. And I believe that business is the art and science of creating uniquely attractive opportunities for other people. And regardless of the province, if you can say that I have iteratively, serially, over several years, provided a uniquely attractive opportunity for other people, you're also very likely to be rich.
I talked to a few of your box owners.
I'm glad you like that. It's how it is.
I talked to a few of your box owners, and I asked them point blank. I said, hey, how do you feel about this lack of protection around territory, that any box can pop up in any place? And one of the owners said, at first I hated it because I felt like we were competing against each other. And then I realized that was exactly the point. In that, if some box owner decides to open up and thinks just because they've become certified trainer or have a team of certified trainers and have the money to pay the affiliate fee and run a box, doesn't guarantee them anything. And as a result of seeing this play out now, there have been plenty of boxes that have come and gone in my area. Not plenty, but some. I'm exaggerating a bit. And this owner said, it's awesome because every guy or gal that runs their box poorly, I'm the proud beneficiary of all their members because they just come to me.
Yeah. Our boxes are independently owned and operated, and we have seen enough gyms not prosper, fail, to do enough post-mortem to really have learned some interesting lessons. And one of those lessons is that when the owner-operator decides that they're going to be an owner and not an operator, the end is near. And there's a big difference between being an orthodontist and working at that craft on a daily basis and living in the Bahamas, paying the rent for a guy who's doing the work and thinking that's going to be sustainable. We had you'll appreciate this, in Scottsdale, a early affiliate said that he was getting just decimated by the competition. And so we started talking to the competition. And the competition were kids that had been working for him training, where he was charging $75 an hour for the training, and he was giving them $12 to $15 an hour. And not coming around. And what happened was that these people, these trainers, realized that they were getting paid 15 and they were collecting 75. And there's a couple of options here. One is you're only worth 15, and because you're delivering $15 an hour training to someone who's paying 75, that doesn't sit well with me. That person's getting screwed $60 an hour.
Yeah.
And then if you're delivering $75 an hour training and getting paid 15, why are you not getting the 60? How much of that goes to your overhead? And the answer is another 10. And so it's an untenable situation. And I've seen this in medicine, I've seen it in jiu-jitsu, I've seen it in law. To think that you're going to middleman a professional service and get rich, what you're going to have is a bunch of asshole lawyers doing ads for TV. And no one's going to be practicing good law. I think it's fundamentally an anti-professionalization, and so I think it's a mistake. But look, I mean, who here, if you were really passionate about a burger, like I make the world's best burger, and people pay $12 for this thing and stand in line to get it. I don't think your next thought should be like McDonald's, which, by the way, is in free fall. I don't see the world working that way anymore. It's not for me.
The culture is something I want to touch on because it's so noteworthy in what's happening within the CrossFit community. In that, I did it the other day, 2 mornings ago. My quads are still burning, by the way. There was an immediate sense of camaraderie that happened. It was instantaneous. Now, granted, we're in the friendly confines of the Hyatt Lost Pines, and so that happens naturally because of why we're all here. But it went to another level, and there were 30, 40 of us underneath the pavilion over there, just digging in. And if I were struggling a little bit, it wasn't necessarily the instructor or the trainer that was like, come on, it was my fellow CrossFitters. Yeah. I don't know that I can call myself that just yet, but talk about what's happening. Like, why is this happening so fast?
Yeah. CrossFit will be about the toughest thing you've ever tried to do.
Amen.
It's hard. It's really hard. And so my advice to any of you that undertake it is sandbag, go easy. Do what you can to make it digestible, manageable. Don't go in there thinking you're going to kick some CrossFit butt, because you're going to end up on your butt. But that being said, as hard as it is, and we admit to that, and it's even bragged about, that's a part of the revolution. Look, the holy grail in my industry was that without any discomfort or sweat, and only 5 minutes a day, you're just going to be in remarkable shape, right? Well, it's a lie. It doesn't come that way. CrossFit is very, very hard, but the payoff is an inordinate adaptation of fitness that you didn't think was potentially achievable. And there's a wonderful, wonderful life lesson there. So this program, this effort, both draws for those that don't believe that there is an easy way or that good things come out of things that are easy, but it also reinforces that notion in those that are kind of new to it. And so I live and work in a province where some of life's most important lessons are most readily imparted and received. And that has a marvelous filtering and shaping impact on the community. And so I'm blessed to lead a community of 4 million people that want to do the hard things, the difficult things, the challenges, and realize that if it's easy, it's probably of limited value. And that has brought the physicists and the violin players around rather than the sociology majors and the tambourine players. Not that there's anything wrong with sociology or the tambourine. It's just not playing the violin or physics. Sorry. And that gives us an inordinate advantage. It's really grabbing the prize. That's what you want to surround yourself with is people that know that good things only come out of blood, sweat, tears, and other bodily fluids, and an enormous amount of sacrifice. And I can tell you just one of the side effects of this is that all the thieves are gone. And I know that really resonated when I was at the Divinity School with one of the attendees there. But it's something we observed a long time ago. I'd worked in the commercial gym environment forever, and in every large commercial gym, about every 6 months at least, some new member, some new visiting for a day fellow shows up with a gym bag with bolt cutters in the bag. And while everyone's out there working out or in the shower, this turd's cutting locks on lockers and harvesting wallets. I've seen it happen at every gym I've been at that wasn't a CrossFit gym. Now, we don't have lockers, but that's just part of it. I mean, things don't go missing from our gyms. You can leave your doors unlocked. I had someone left just a specimen of a ring in our gym once, and it sat in a drawer, in the junk drawer, for 6-8 months. And this thing, I mean, it was a rock. People would see it and they go, "Holy cow, look at this thing," you know? And a woman eventually in the gym, her friend saw it in there, and she had been visiting the gym and left it on, taken it off and set it down, and had racked her brain for months and months and months trying to remember where her giant rock was, and couldn't figure it out. And she just never, playing the tape as to where she had been, just being at the gym didn't figure into it. And so it was her friend that had brought her that found it in there. He goes, "Oh my gosh, I've got your diamond ring." But it was a very natural thing, and that to me was one of the early kind of, wow, that's amazing that a 5-carat diamond ring, perfect clarity, sat in my drawer, my junk drawer, where everyone was in and out constantly, and it never occurred to anyone to take it with them. But that's because all the thieves were gone, and that's because the only people coming around are those that don't want the easy way. And that's what a thief is. A thief is someone who's looking for a shortcut. They want to get something for nothing. CrossFitters don't believe in that. It would never occur to them to do that.
You've been quoted talking about your culture, and I think it was specific to the CrossFit headquarters, that you run this thing like a motorcycle gang.
Yeah.
I think that was the term. What's that all about?
I had motorcycle club clients, and I came down to kind of understand how they worked. I didn't really had any business experience, but we found ourselves in front of Adidas Group executives, and I couldn't make sense of what they did in relation to what we do. I know that we were introduced to Adidas CMO, and my head of training leaned over and says, "Hey, what's a CMO?" I go, "It's a Chief M Officer." We'll figure that out later, you know? Guy I brought with me is a Navy SEAL. He's my security guard. He's a trainer, and he flies the airplane. So what, that's a C something else, right? Guy that worked for me for 9 years. He's here. Brian, where are you? Yeah, put your hand in the air, Brian. Yeah, this fool worked for me for all day long, or all night long for 9 years straight without a paycheck. You know, what kind of job is that? 7, okay. Felt like 9. And we referred to him as my spiritual advisor. I don't know what the hell he is, you know? He was from the spiritual wing. He wasn't training. It's kind of, we borrowed from Hamas. I didn't get business, but I get excellence. And I know that if the revenue stops, the doors close, but you know, you got to screw up to make the revenue stop. I didn't get traditional business, and so I said, maybe, you know, we've been called a cult enough times that we had to do a close examination there. And I said, well, you know, the cult thing doesn't fit so well, but hell, you want to call us a religion, you can put that around my neck. And so what I'd offered at Harvard Business School was, to the Harvard Business School staff that came out to see us, is that we may be more like a motorcycle gang or a religion than we are like a business. I don't know. But when I got there, they wanted to know which was it. Is it a motorcycle gang or religion? And I offered up this. I think maybe it's a religion run by a motorcycle gang not trying to make money. And immediately I was approached by people from the divinity school that says, you have to come here and talk about that. And so we did, and we're regulars there, and it's all's well in my universe. You know, we're a religion run by a motorcycle gang not trying to make money, and we have good friends at the divinity school and the Harvard Business School.
Oh, you
Look,
brought
business can't be something that is a product of the MBA program. It can't be that there was no business before there were MBAs, which are trying to make money, right? I just reject that entirely.
I want to stay on, you brought up the religion thing, just for a moment. I know you're not a super religious guy.
That's correct.
You had one hell of an experience not too terribly long ago. You got a phone call from a woman in Boston. Tell that story.
This is Sean?
Dawn.
Dawn, sorry.
No, that's okay.
Dawn
Ditano,
yeah.
Yep.
You've done your homework. There was a CrossFit trainer from CrossFit 503, I believe it was, in Boston. And she had been recently diagnosed with advanced metastatic glioblastoma, brain cancer. And in being processed into the hospital, they wanted to know from her that should this thing turn out in worst case scenario, who would they want called? And she said Greg Glassman. And so everyone laughed, and then someone called me and asked if I'd be willing to come out and see her, and of course I was. And so I went out and got to spend some time with Dawn, and you know, she was wonderful. She's passed on, but you look, there's no one in here that would have said no, nobody. And so this is one of these odd moments of something that's described as heroic that's really, really, other than heroic, it's just fundamentally being human. And I know that there's no one in here that would say there's no way, I'm busy, I can't come out and see you. So I did it. It's really no big thing. You know, it was an opportunity for me to be fully human, and I took up on it, you know.
Thanks for sharing that.